Welcome back to the 2025 Tire Rack One Lap of America, presented by Grassroots Motorsport Magazine, with coverage this year brought to you by HP Tuners. Bryan and I are joined today by Wes and Matt. Wes, who sometimes goes by Jonathan, but we'll let him introduce himself. And this is, what is your team name? And tell us a little bit about yourselves. Wes, why don't you go first?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. Yeah, thanks again for having us and for being such a big part of kind of the pre-campaign. But we are racing this year in one lap for the American Brain Tumor Association. So we're Team ABTA. This is our first one lap, but we are really excited to participate in this historic event, but also to use it as a platform to raise money and awareness for the American Brain Tumor Association. They have never done anything related to motorsports before. So this is a very new foray for them, but they're super excited to be part of this and see how it resonates and just create some new experiences for some of the constituents that they have, some of the volunteers and the healthcare providers and even the patients that they support. So that's why we're doing it this year.
Okay. And does that finally mean that they're validating what Brock has said, that there must be something wrong in your head if you're doing this event? I mean, is that sort of where we're going? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
I think that's true. Yeah.
So, but all levity aside, truly this, and let's kind of knock this out of the way early for those who are watching and who might have something else to do later. This truly is a unique endeavor that you're undertaking here. So the American Brain Tumor Association, obviously, as you pointed out, working with you all, but the vehicle that you're taking, why don't you guys get into that? And then more importantly, what's going to happen at the end?
Yeah. So we're going to race this year, fortunately or unfortunately, in a 2006 John Cooper Works Mini. So it's a super fun car to drive around town. It's a fun little track attack vehicle as well. It is a terrible highway car for two grown men and a week's worth of gear and stuff. But we're gonna make the most of it. We have been fortunate enough to again partner with the ABTA in one lap to have this vehicle campaign, and then we've also got the opportunity to have this vehicle auctioned for no reserve on cars and bids at the end of the one lap. So anybody that has a chance to see the vehicle during the one lap event can see it in person and then ultimately bid to own this car. And all of the proceeds are going to the One Lap America. Essentially, the winning bidder is just going to cut a check for the high bid amount directly to the ABTA, and then we're just going to sign over the car. So it's going to be a clear that all of those proceeds are going to go to the charity. And we're just super excited to do what we can to raise awareness and hopefully raise some good funds with the auction of this Cooper.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you guys coming aboard and obviously utilizing the one lap. We're no stranger to charities and good causes, and this is certainly a good one. All right, Bryan, what do you got?
So, Wes, we were talking before we got started about your motorsports background and running Spec E46 out in the Pacific Northwest. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that and tell us about some of your favorite tracks in the Pacific Northwest that we as East Coast guys don't get to visit?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm hoping you will get to visit it because I know that Solomon's alluded to maybe a West Coast event here for one lap in not too distant future. If that can happen, I'd love to do my part to make that happen. But if that were to happen, one of my favorite tracks to race at here in the Pacific Northwest is Pacific Raceway here in Seattle. This track's almost 50 years old, natural terrain track, very much kind of like VIR on the East Coast, right? Lots of elevation changes, nice long sweeping turns and straights, and just beautiful trees and a beautiful setting. And they've spent a lot of money over the last couple of years really elevating that track for safety and to get some higher speed cars and sanctioned events through there. But yeah, I think that's on the bucket list for me. That's kind of where I started, and just because the proximity to Seattle, I ended up doing a lot of test and tunes with the Spec E46 there as well, to get ready for the season. It was out there actually just a few weeks ago. The Mini Cooper also that we're campaigning one lap got its first track day ever in its life at Pacific Raceway. So it's just a It's a fun track if you're an advanced driver. Some of the turns are pretty technical. The back straight can feel a little bit scary, and if you're a beginner, it's super easy to get to, and it's just an easy place to get on the track. If you're in the Seattle area, or anywhere near. So yeah, it's just a cool track, and a lot of good folks that have been with that track. It's still in the same family actually, since
Wow.
since it was developed, which is very rare these days.
Absolutely. Very cool. All right. So, Matt, you've been very quiet. I don't even think you got to introduce yourself, but why don't you tell us a little bit about you and why you're hopping right seat or left seat or behind the seat or on the hood with this endeavor here?
Yeah, sure. So Wes and I met 25 years ago because of cars in college, and happenstance sat next to each other, and really that's our friendship's been driven around cars. A few years ago, we had the opportunity to go get some track time and seat time at some different BMW areas, and enjoyed it through and through. And then he discovered this a year ago, and 8 months ago, he and his wife were having a conversation, and was like, "Look, I want to do this." Called me and said, "There's no one else I'm going to live in a car with or a hotel with for a week other than you, and I want you to consider taking some vacation," which is in neither of our portfolios, to say the least. We just don't take time off. So that's the short end of how I got roped into this. I love wrenching on cars. I love driving cars. It doesn't matter what they are, big, small, fast. I thoroughly enjoy just being around cars. And the end of it is it's your best friend. And then on top of it all, it's for an amazing cause. And at the heart of it all, it's his wife. There's no way I'm saying no to this.
Sure. So let's dive into that for a second. So obviously this is something incredibly meaningful to you both because it's not something where you just generally decide, let's pick the ABTA and let's go drive around the country and let's go organize a car and let's go get Doug DeMuro and Cars and Bids to sell this thing afterwards and let's do all this work. So why is this so meaningful?
Yes. So my wife was actually diagnosed with a grade 3 astrocytoma in November of 2022. And so, for all intents and purposes, she's doing extremely well. She had a successful surgery and she's had about a year's worth of treatments between chemo and radiation. And for someone with brain cancer, she's doing remarkably well. In fact, in a lot of ways, her quality of life is better than when it was before. But in going through that journey, like as anybody would suspect, like you don't think about brain cancer, right? It's like 1% or something of annual cancer diagnosis. Like it's something that happens to soap opera stars in the 90s. It's not something that happens to real people. But once you experience that in your family, like we have, like you realize it is real. And there's not a lot of awareness out there for it. The ABTA is one of very few charities that specializes in brain cancer. And so as we realized, what our life was going to look like on the other side of this diagnosis, we realized that we wanted to do something to help. And so that's exactly why the ABTA, we partnered with them last year for the very first time. The month of May is also Brain Tumor Awareness Month, so it's Go Gray in May. So you'll notice that the Mini Cooper is also gray,
okay,
to kind of memorialize that. But we started working with them last year at a very small scale as I was doing some of the racing around here in the Pacific Northwest, and we were just raising awareness as we went to tracks. And I just noticed what a difference that made, telling people what we were raising money for and realizing that actually more people had a story about how brain cancers and brain tumors had impacted them than I would have expected. And so it just triggered us to want to do more. So my wife's been super supportive in my Spec E46 racing. Like my wife and kids are my pit crew. It's very much a family event for us. And while they can't be there for all of the one lap to help us rotate tires and stuff, I'm gonna bring Matt instead. But they're gonna meet us at the end, and we'll celebrate the finishing regardless of whatever place we come in. We'll just celebrate the fact that we did it and hopefully created some awareness where there was none.
Excellent. So what are, I guess, some of the indicators of maybe a brain tumor or brain cancer? What are some of the things to help raise awareness?
Yeah, that's a thoughtful question to ask. Like there's it can be a lot. Like I'll tell you a little bit about my wife's story, but it was everything from kind of lower back pain to sinus congestion, headaches, as you would expect. But then ultimately, what became most concerning is her vision. She would have periods where she would look away and then look back, and her entire center field of vision would be gone for a few seconds and then slowly recover. And what happened is what that's all related to is just the intracranial pressure and the pressure of your spinal fluid that kind of rotates throughout your spinal and neurological system. And that tumor was just creating so much pressure that it was messing with her eyes, her back, her sinuses. All of that stuff was actually the root cause. And as soon as that tumor was gone on the other side of surgery, like there was instant relief of those symptoms. It was just really she was really fortunate. That's why I mentioned in a number of ways, like her quality of life is better than it was before within the absence of this tumor.
Sure. And I mean, are there, that you're aware of, things that people can do to either prevent or test for? I mean, what kind of things are in place or that you know about that people can do to kind of check themselves out?
Yeah, the one thing I would say is don't stop advocating for yourself. Like my wife went for all these individual symptoms, nobody could string those things together, right? And so when you go and you just don't have confidence that you don't feel heard or understood, just keep, work with your primary care physician, work with any specialist that you do see, because even in the very last test that she had, which was an MRI, they were doing it just to rule it out. Like they didn't believe that she would actually have a brain tumor, and then they saw a tumor the size of a lime when they finished the MRI. And so, just continue to advocate for yourself is the number one thing. There's doctors out there that can help you with the diagnosis, and there's going to be treatments related to whatever type of tumor you may have. But the input to getting all of that is just to continue to advocate for yourself.
And before I turn it over to Bryan, I'll just do a little aside here. And as we get into the more one lap focus stuff, these are important things that we ask. And number one, it's helpful to me because I'm learning on this. So thank you.
Yeah.
But today particularly because the interview that we did earlier this afternoon, which will air prior to this, was sort of the best friends road tripping, and that's Randy Pobst and Jason Stromowski and their former co-driver Enrique Ramirez, who we lost a couple of years ago due to cancer, and Randy, who's a survivor, and we have numerous individuals with similar stories throughout the one lap. So it's just a fact of life. While we are motorsport centric, we're also primarily people centric because we've got 300 of you around. So everybody's got different stories. We all age. We all kind of learn things as we go along. So very, very important. And I commend you on the work that you're doing and the awareness that you're raising for the ABTA. Bryan, go for it, buddy.
So guys, since Wes, you were talking about you haven't done many East Coast tracks. What tracks this year are you looking forward to getting on, and what tracks are you going to kind of be a little tiptoey around?
Yeah, I'm excited about a couple of tracks. One, obviously, VIR is an icon, so I'm very excited about that track. It's just a beautiful, I think, venue based on what I've seen and races that I've watched there. There was a Hoosier Super Tour race there not long ago, so I got a chance to see some other cars like my Spec E46 out there running and watch some dash cam footage. It was pretty exciting to see, if I got the Spec out to the East Coast, what that might look like. But we also have in partnership with the you guys, the One Lap and ABTA, we're inviting people to do some ride-alongs and come meet us at the Grattan track in Michigan. And so excited to do that. We're actually going to have some folks travel in from Chicago. We're actually going to have a few patients there. One of them is a young child who's got a brain tumor and going through treatment right now. And we're excited to get him out on the track and give him a little ride in the Mini Cooper and get him all harnessed up. And so just some things like that make that Grattan track also something to look forward to. I'm afraid of all the other tracks, Hedge Hollow and Corvette Motorsports Park, because I don't have a sim or any way to practice those tracks. And so I'm going to come in cold with nothing but some track maps and some notes from YouTube videos. And that's it. And then, and then the autocross stuff, I'm handing over to Matt because I have very little experience in like super tight car control stuff, and so he's actually we actually had a chance to do some autocross stuff at the Mini Cooper school in California, and he actually did better than me. So
there you go. Wise to know your team strengths there.
that's exactly right.
So let's do a thing here. Let's set 2 targets. So the first one, where do you think you're going to end up from a 1-lap standpoint? Where are you looking to finish? What's a good number?
Just finish.
Yeah, I think finish.
Just finish. Just finish.
Give me a number. Let's go for a target here. Let's up it.
Listen, I know there's another the also ran racing crew is in our class. I've watched their videos from previous 1-lap on some of the tracks that we're going to run as well to see what their Mini Cooper would do. As much as I would like to win that class, I'm going to have to put a Post-it note on the dashboard that says, Wes, you have to auction this car when it's done, and so I can't just go out there and send it. As much as I would just like to. But it's
odd you say that, isn't it? Because somehow my hands got a hold of a video of a Mini Cooper spinning on a track very close to a guardrail.
Yeah.
So I don't know how accurate that's going to hold up.
We'll see. That might have been the first lesson, that we've got to have a marketable product to raise money for charity at the end of this thing. That's going to be too long for the Post-it note, so I have to have something simpler to remind me. I do have a habit. I wouldn't be a race car driver if I didn't get competitive and get in there and just have moments where you just want to send it. And so I really got to tell myself, like, we're just finishing is the objective, and we're raising money for charity, and we're not here to win. Do not send it.
But can you really truly send a Mini?
You can send a Mini, yeah. Relative to what a Mini. The good news is it can do a couple spins on the track without hitting anything, because it's most tracks are like 3 minis wide, so you can.
They nearly had
doesn't weigh a lot, so it slows down quick.
Yeah. But all right, so the second target I want to kind of go after now and promote, I guess, throughout the entirety of this, and when we see you there, is what would be a good number, sort of a minimum number, to make this endeavor worthwhile to you, to Matt, to all the work that's been put into this. If you could say tomorrow, I would love to see this Mini go for X amount of dollars. And by no way are we setting a ceiling for it. We're setting the floor right now, right? And yes, it's not reserve, but here's our reserve, right? So what would you like to see that go for?
I would like to get somewhere in the low teens for the car. I think the car's probably worth somewhere near that anyway. It's a fairly low mile. It's a real John Cooper Works. And we've left it mostly stock, just prepared it a little bit. So the values for the market is probably somewhere around there. Maybe it's a little bit of an increase because it is going to be a tax deductible event, and it's going to be for a great cause. And so, but I think low teens would be a number that we'd be proud of for this Mini Cooper, at this time, given these.
Do you have a spare tire that will be with the vehicle or something that you're swapping out, whether it be? So what I'm going to suggest is, let's try and raise the value a little bit. So similar to what we do with the Brock Gates Memorial Fund, our, the charity for the event, why don't we put that tire out or body piece out for the car and have everybody sign it as well? So it can be a part of the effort this year.
That would be great.
I mean, Bryan's signature's got to be worth at least, $1.99. And I know Brock's signature is probably worth like $1.1080. So at that point, I mean, let's add it up a little bit.
Yeah. That is awesome. Yeah, we got an extra 5th JCW rim that Matt was actually able to find for us, and that would be so cool to have everybody sign that extra tire as a memento of the event. How cool would that be? Yeah, great idea.
I think we bring out a paint pen and get some clear afterwards and make that sucker count. Right, it goes with the car for the provenance.
That's right.
That's awesome. Yeah, great idea.
All right, Bryan, go for it. That was my good idea for the day.
It's usually me that has the good idea of the day.
I steal them.
Yeah, I know.
Go ahead, buddy.
So, you guys have been friends for many years. How did this friendship begin? You being out on the Pacific Northwest, and You here on the sort of eastish coast.
Yeah, I'll kick it off and then I'll kick it over to Matt. So when we were in college, we just happened to sit beside each other, and I was working on restoring a 1977 Trans Am that I had bought for $400. And
In a
Matt
cardboard box. In a
and
cardboard
brought it
box.
home.
Don't forget that.
Yeah, and Matt worked at a parts store. And so I would make lists every day and give them to him in class, and he'd take them back to the parts store and try to figure out what it was going to cost me. But I'll head over to you, Matt. Like,
Yeah, that's the short end of that is he bought a a Bandit Trans Am before anybody cared about him for $400 in a cardboard box, and then he's going to figure out how to put this thing together. The short end of it is I'm probably a little more mechanically inclined than Wes, but ultimately he's not afraid of it. I got to give him credit there. But his snapshot's pretty accurate. He was just like, hey, we sell all that stuff. I'll get it for you. And he had an avenue to build a car. He had a connection to help put the car back together, and it ended up being a beautiful '77 Trans Am, as you can imagine. Fast forward, it probably took 10 years to get the car right, and he successfully auctioned the car off a few years ago, and that too donated.
yeah. So that was so to
to
Matt's point. I'm not super skilled, so I did it myself. It took twice as long, turned out half as good, cost twice as much. But I had that car for like 20 years. Yeah, and my wife and I left our wedding in it, and then I auctioned that car a couple of years ago for Make a Wish.
So you're a serial philanthropist slash vehicle auctioneer here.
I'm working on it. It makes the guilt of like having these cars and spending all these money on these discretionary things feel a little bit better when ultimately when you're done with them, they can kind of go to a good cause and it doesn't feel so selfish.
Very, very cool indeed. So obviously, efforts like this, as we've alluded to already, require a lot of support, require a lot of assistance, and somebody who knows their way around a parts counter. Clearly, that being said, since your friendship was clearly transactional from the beginning, who has helped you over the years, and who is currently helping you with this effort? Why don't we give them some love?
Well, I just got to like Matt had a really great experience with someone who's in the one lap community and isn't competing this year, but has done a couple years in the past. Matt, you should tell that story.
Yeah, so we have Toyota manufacturing in our backyard where I live in West Virginia. Um, through youth sports, a couple of the guys, their kids are on the soccer team, and I heard them talking about the event. And then fast forward a whole season, and Wes is now doing this, has put it out there to do the event. So I cycled back, I'm like, just my friends, like, didn't you tell me to do this? Yeah, we did. We've done it successfully twice, and unfortunately, the funds weren't there from Toyota to do it this year, but I think we had a team in it, and come to find out, the short end of it is it's a small community. The guy lives a mile from me, so Wes and I came up with a pretty good series of questions just to sit down and have a cup of coffee and just campaign on our behalf to what the ins and outs of what we're about to go through and endure, from parts to hotel reservations to laundry to eat. Anything we can do to make this 3,000-mile journey easier. And Quentin was more than happy to help. It was a fantastic 2-hour cup of coffee.
Excellent. So who are these Toyota individuals whom you speak of?
So I actually don't know who the drivers are, but my
meaningful conversations.
So he's behind the scenes, right? His name's Quentin, and he gave us a whole lot of pointers. That's the best thing I can say.
Very, very cool. Well, so getting back to the topic at hand, support, that you guys are running into here. So sponsors, those you wish to thank, those of you who are helping you undertake this endeavor this year. So why don't you go ahead and give them some love now?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, first of all, the American Brain Tumor Association, they've been helpful, and they'll be a great benefactor when this is all said and done. We got some help doing some of the maintenance and prep with parts that were provided by FCP Euro. We had our tires donated by Falcon Tire, and then Cars and Bids is going to be handling the post-event no reserve charity auction for the Mini, and their buyer fees they're also going to donate to the American Brain Tumor Association. So they're not going to profit from from the auction either. And they're going to do some content on the car to try to create some awareness and visibility for it before it goes up to auction. So the video you referenced, they flew a crew up from San Diego to Seattle to do some footage and film the Mini on track to release for the auction to create some awareness as well too at their expense.
Very cool. Well, and then we'll have the link that you had sent me earlier in the description of the video below. So if you are so inclined, go down and check it out and support this awesome team's effort, Team ABTA, American Brain Tumor Association, right? Or yep, there we go. It's on your shirt. I can read. In any event, Wes and Matt, thank you very much for joining us. We're looking forward to catching up with you throughout the event. We have our goal. So you were saying, in the low teens. I'm going to be optimistic, and I'm going to say let's start this at 15. It's a tax write-off for whoever it is. We've got a lot of people watching who I'm sure could use it. 15 grand. Let's go for it, right? I mean, we've collectively, I know for the Memorial Fund, we've raised over 180,000 so far over the years,
impressive.
right? And some, we get some big whales here coming out and making some efforts. So if this is something that resonates with you, don't hesitate, go do it. We'll have you on afterwards and we'll talk about it and why and what it is. And we'd love to tell that story as well in terms of where this car winds up later.
Yeah.
So
that'd be great.
Yep.
Maybe
I love the optimism element.
Maybe it'll wind up in Birmingham with Brad Minton.
There you go. Good.
It's a beautiful car, boys. It's a 60,000 mile, well taken care of, 6-speed, true JCW car, and very, very little modifications, just enough to get it on the track.
Only driven to church on weekends and to go shopping throughout the entire course of this event as well.
Right.
So, yep,
we
no hail damage, no nothing.
Seats. Some hail damage, some hail damage, unfortunately.
It's got 6 spots. I'm sorry. It's the least of my worries at this current situation.
These are all character building things, and since you've already referenced Trans Am, we can bring up Mike Musto, and we can say that this is all patina to the vehicle. So he'd be very proud about that. But in any event, gentlemen, we wish you lots of luck. We can't wait to see you in a little over a week and a couple days' time over at our host hotel at the Four Winds Casino Resort in South Bend. But thank you again for joining us for the 2025 Tire Rack One Lap of America presented by Grassroots Motorsport Magazine with coverage brought to you by HP Tuners. I'm Solomon. That's Bryan. And this is Team ABTA. Thank you.
Very. Whoa! I crashed my tractor.